Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Horrifically Horrifying, which is presented by the Hollywood Critics Association. My name is Heather Wixon. I am the managing editor for DailyDead.com, and I am joined by my co-host, as always, Kevin Taft from Edge Media Network. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
Hello. Good. So we've got lots of horror to talk about this week. It seems like we're getting these big waves of horror lately, and we are definitely in a big wave of good stuff these days. So this week's episode, we're going to be talking about The Night House, which recently just came out from Searchlight Pictures. We're also going to be talking about Neil Blomkamp's Demonic, and of course, everybody's favorite. We've been waiting so long for this one. We're going to be also discussing Candyman. I like your little hook hand.
You like it?
Yes, your hook hand. I think the American Sign Language Society should take that up as the official Candyman sign.
It's either that or an emu.
Yeah, or an emu, a very angry emu.
Somebody's like, why is he doing the emo gesture? I don't get it.
Yeah. Is this Liberty Mutual? Are you selling us insurance? So shout out to Liberty Mutual. I have them, actually. So I got pulled in by the emu. What can I say? Damn that emu. He's good.
Yeah, he is good.
So, yeah, I guess we should just go ahead and in The Night House.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because for me, this is a movie I saw in January 2020. So it's one of those movies where you're like, gosh, is this ever going to come out? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's coming out. Right. So I was grateful to actually get a chance to go back and rewatch it recently because I did an interview with Rebecca Hall, who's phenomenal in it. But I loved it back in 2020, and it hit me way differently now than it did then, because back then it was more about the grief and now it was more about the isolation. So I'm curious about how you felt about The Night House.
I loved The Night House as well. I remember you saying that it wasn't quite what the trailers were advertising. So that made me more intrigued. I was worried that I was going to felt spoiled by that revelation, but I didn't. I just, you're right. It was an interesting take on grief, isolation. But I just loved how he used negative space, and she's just, every time she's in something, she's so darn good. So I was just fascinated watching her. But then it's a nice, like, slow build to an ending that's not what you expect, but it's still unsettling and unnerving. And I actually saw it twice as well. I saw a screener of it, and then I went to the theater to see it. And I felt like I got more out of it the second time. I felt like it made more sense the second time. Not that it didn't make sense the first time, but I felt like I picked up on more, and it was clearer the second time I saw it. I was like, I have no questions, really. Whereas I heard other people talking about it going, well, I didn't understand this or this. I'm like, no, go see it again. But mostly I've been seeing positive reactions from people too, more so than I expected, because it's a little artsy.
Yeah, my other half, when we watched it together like a few weeks ago, there were certain parts that he was like, wait, what? Like, because he's like, at first he was kind of like, oh, we're doing a movie about grief, great. And, and he's, some of that stuff, it's not like his wheelhouse. And I was like, just wait, It's going to get there. And then all of a sudden she's looking at schematics of the house, and he's like, wait, what is this? And then it kind of turns into this other thing. So yeah, I think, I think for people, I think a lot of us have had sort of our attention spans challenged over the last 18 months. Mm-hmm. So I think for a lot of us, there's a lot of heavy lifting that I think our brains have to do with this movie. And I don't mean like something like Fear Street, I'm just going on a ride. This, you really have to be an active viewer in this movie, because one, you talk about the negative space. A lot of that really comes from you've got to be watching corners and everything. Like, you really have to be active while you're watching this movie. This isn't a movie you sit on your phone and try to watch, because you're going to miss half the movie. What I think is fascinating is I believe David Bruckner did an interview with Bloody Disgusting recently, and he talked about the fact that this was actually a script that he ended up rewriting that initially was going to be a script for Hellraiser.
Really?
Yes, where like this house was sort of this portal, enter the Cenobites, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of cool because Bruckner is now doing the new Hellraiser movie.
Oh, wow.
So this
That's
ended up
interesting.
becoming sort of a calling card for him.
It's
But
interesting because
yeah,
that statue might have been the box.
yes,
Interesting.
yeah.
Here's a question I have, and I don't know how much we can actually say because nobody noticed it but me, weirdly. Unless my best friend might have, but he wasn't with me when we watched it. But when she's in her school at the beginning, she goes to school, she's in her classroom looking at houses on her laptop, and it says 3:20, shows her on the houses, she starts to fall asleep, girl comes in and interrupts her. You look at the clock again, and it's 3:10, and she's looking at guns.
I think the time actually went forward. I think it was before 3 when
Oh,
she
because
fell asleep.
oh, because
Yeah.
that's what my friend said. My other friend said, "Oh, I thought it was like 4:10," and I was like, "I still think it was 3:10, but maybe it was just showing the time passed, and
Yeah,
that
because I
during
think
that
it
time
started.
she was looking other stuff up or something."
Yeah, I think that scene started off before 3 o'clock, and then all of a sudden she was like, "Oh, whoa!" Like she just like
Oh,
lost a bunch of time.
okay.
But what's interesting is I love that scene when the mom comes in because with Hunter and his need for a better grade. For me, that was like Rebecca. I mean, there's a lot of MVP moments for Rebecca Hall in this movie, but that to me was just like, oh well, what grade should Hunter get that?
Right.
Because like shout out to teachers right now, especially who are having to deal with so much BS
Yep.
everywhere with everything going on. So first and foremost, they are heroes who are not getting appreciated for the crap that they have to deal with on a regular basis, let alone all of this. But like just the way that she handled that scene, like I have to feel like there's teachers out there who saw that and were just like, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. You get
It,
it.
it got the most reaction in our audience, that part. People were laughing, like in a good way, like good for you, you know?
Yeah, but then like just the way she says was like, "Oh well, my husband killed himself and I wasn't here that day. So what do
Right.
you want me to do about it?"
Right.
And you're just like, "Oh shit!" like, "Oh okay, gotcha."
We all
You
have
know,
personal issues.
yeah. So I liked. It's funny because like this year between this and Godzilla versus Kong, like Rebecca Hall's kind of been out there. She's the one that says Kong bows to nobody or no one. So she owned I think cinema in 2021. So
And I mean, you might have, maybe, I don't know if we talked about this. If nobody has seen her in the movie Christine, where she plays that, the journalist that killed herself on air.
I think we talked about that when we showed the
Yeah,
trailer before. I haven't
right.
still haven't had a chance to watch it.
Oh my God, it just solidifies her as one of the best actors of this
I know that
generation.
there's an older horror movie that she was in that's getting a re-release
It
on
the awake
Blu-ray.
the
The Awakening.
awakening. Yeah,
Awakening, yeah. So I know that's going to be getting a Blu-ray release soon
but she
too.
was just in something else too, like a TV show, and it's another horror one. I'm like, or oh wait, because I was trying. My friend was like, "What else has she been in?" And he hadn't seen Christine. Is it a Netflix show? What was she just in?
Oh
And she's
gosh.
really good in it too. We're gonna have to look it up.
I am quickly looking because we are so prepared for this.
I know.
Um Tales from the Loop. Mm.
Yes,
Okay. I
Tales
haven't
from the
seen
Loop
that
is
either.
so good. I wish everybody would watch that show. It's so good.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, she
also
was
let's
really
just
good.
point out she was done super dirty in Iron Man 3.
I don't even remember her in Iron Man
She
3.
was the one who basically kidnaps Tony and she's like sort of behind everything. And then Guy Pearce comes in and kills her. Is it Guy
Hmm,
Pearce? That's Guy Pearce, yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. So she was kind of like she was like a scientist and she was doing bad things and she realized she was doing good things, but then she still ends up taking I'm trying to remember the whole thing because there's a lot going on in Iron Man 3, although I love it. But like basically she kind of just gets her character who's like really capable, really smart, just gets like tossed aside, which
No.
apparently wasn't the plan. I think she was actually supposed to be the villain, all
Hmm.
up until a certain point, and then they changed the script. So can't have lady villains in Marvel. What are we
God
talking about
no.
here?
Not
No,
until now. Now we do.
none. Nah, yeah, finally. Took Kate Blanchett, I think, to shake that tree loose.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
so I guess we both really liked Night House.
yeah,
So
it's
that's
tough
good.
because it's only in theaters right now.
Yeah.
So I've been telling people like if you're not comfortable, like I'm guessing it's gonna make it like premium VOD and like rentals like within the next few weeks.
Probably.
Because it seems like everything gets in theaters for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then they go to the streaming stuff.
Yeah.
So hang in there. It's worth it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I saw it a second time because it just clicked so differently. Because like I just latched on to like her dealing with the suicide and grief and all these things the first time. And the second time I was like, oh, this poor woman is just stuck in her house all by herself. And all she's doing is drinking and talking to ghosts. And you're just like, I get it. I totally get it. I was like, this could have been the movie for 2020.
Right.
I think for a lot of us. So, but I think it would have been a little too much, I think, for a lot of us last year. So yeah.
Well, that was good. All right. Well, let's move on then to Neil. I have a really weird picture of Neil Blomkamp. Camp. I don't know who did
he
that.
looks like he's about to seize New York.
Yep.
And release the demons
with his demons.
And Spider-Man has no chance at winning against him.
He's gonna get it. But yeah, Neil Blomkamp has done a horror movie. Starring Carly Pope from Popular.
Yes, well, they've worked together before too.
I know, but that's all I really. Then in a Hallmark movie, that's all I know her from. But so yeah, what'd you think of Demonic?
I think I ended up liking Demonic more than a lot of people. It's like for me, it was like a solid 3 out of 5. I just when you watch so many movies about possession and demons and that kind of stuff, like just give me something different, and I'm happy. And at least this was different. I mean, it does feel super low budget. It does feel like it's stretching a little bit. There's elements of this, like they sort of introduce this idea of like the Vatican as like super soldiers, which I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But they don't really do anything with it. So that was kind of a bummer. I liked the demon creature. I liked all the stuff that they did in the AI. I just thought that was kind of cool and different, and kind of reminded me of like something like Waking Life, or like I'm trying to think if there's like a video game thing where it's like you go in and you're kind of like that already. So I thought it was interesting. I mean, for me, it's not anywhere close to being one of my favorites of the year. But people act like it like killed their parents and burned their houses down online. And I was like, I mean, it's not, it's no District 9, but like, wow. I wasn't expecting the vitriol.
I haven't read any vitriol because I literally don't know anybody who's seen it, but me and my friends. And I had a hard time keeping my eyes open for sure. Yeah.
Is that just because you're getting immersed in the dream state, though? No.
Yes. There was just nothing about this movie that I thought was even that original. I mean, like you said, they came up with the Vatican super soldiers. They had the whole like put the electrodes on their heads, but even that, like The Cell did something similar to that before. I've seen other movies that have done that, but I felt like he didn't even utilize it enough. And then it was just a whole movie about people walking around with flashlights. You couldn't see anything. And then by the end, I was like, I just don't care. I didn't like her character. She seemed annoyed and pissed off all the time. And why on earth are they dressing a 42-year-old woman like a college student with the little backpack on her back? I'm like, who is she and what does she do? Like, we didn't get any information about her, or enough information for me to care about her character. And then at the end, when things settle down at one point, she doesn't have the backpack anymore. I'm like, what? She lost her baggage? It was just way too obvious for me. And I was mad.
You don't ever want to see me get dressed for a music festival then, because I'm 43 and I wear a backpack. But she literally was wearing it everywhere. And it looked like there was like one thing in it, like a water bottle. But again, I was like, who are you and what are you doing? You gotta stay hydrated though. When you're fighting
at a music festival, yes.
Yes, you do. Hydrate everybody.
Not at some random facility she's randomly going to, saying like, sure, hook me up to an electrode thing. Hi, Mom. It's just...
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Believe me, I totally understand when people didn't like it. I was actually expecting a lot worse, so maybe my expectations were tempered, where I was just like, okay, like, I was really expecting to be super bored. I was actually okay with it. Like,
yeah, I was bored.
I don't know. So maybe I was just, because I actually watched it the same night as I rewatched The Night House, and maybe I was just like a rewatch high or something. So Who knows?
That would have made it worse for me. I would have been like, wow, this stinks compared to Night House.
Yeah, I mean, it's in no way, shape, or form anywhere close to District 9. It's like not even Chappie, which I still like, and even though
Chappie's my favorite.
You know, Chappie's one of those where people either really, really love it or they really hate it. So, you know, and I've never seen Elysium, which I believe she's in that too. So
Elysium I didn't like Elysium. I thought that was boring.
I kind of have this weird aversion to Matt Damon.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I saw Matt Damon in a movie.
I don't know, but have you seen the trailer for the Ridley Scott movie? Where it's like in the old-timey ages with Ben Affleck?
No, I just saw The House of Gucci.
Yeah, no, I think this is coming, The Last Duel. It's coming out first.
Oh, no.
Him, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver. None of them have accents except for the girl, who I'm blanking on her name. She's great. But it literally, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, is this an SNL spoof? Because it looks terrible. But it's Ridley Scott, so you're like, is it going to be terrible? I mean, he's done some stinkers, but...
I'm more in it for House of Gucci, I think, at this point.
All right, yeah, that one I'm fine with.
Yeah, I finally saw the trailer for that. I was just like, this looks so bizarre and over the top. I'm in. Thank you.
Yeah. It's almost like he did The Last Duel on the weekends with like some of the same cast.
Yeah. And he's like, Gaga, are you busy? She's like, oh, I'm recording, honey. I can't. And he's like, okay, that's fine.
He's
like, I'll go call someone else. It's okay.
I'm gonna put Matt Damon and Victoria.
And Adam Driver's like, I'll do whatever, Ridley Scott. That's fine. I'll be in both movies. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter, and I think it's so true. Like, I think Adam Driver's incredibly talented, but he just always looks annoyed.
I said
was that you? No, somebody else like literally said that like this morning.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, because he looks like he's annoyed to be doing the one thing that he's good at.
Yeah, like
he looks
you're
irritated.
so talented. But he's just like, oh.
Yeah. When I was watching it now, I was like, you look like you don't even want to be there doing this movie, even though you're doing a fine job. But there's this under layer of
somebody's like tweet was like about like, has he thought about doing counseling because he just looks really annoyed and like does he need to talk to somebody because he just looks like he's always having a really terrible time.
Thank you. So, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. I agree.
So, anyway, it's a bummer. Sorry, Adam Driver, but you know, we still love you. But
just keep your shirt off. We'll be fine.
You just look really upset to always have to work, and we're sorry that you have to be put in this position for entertainment.
Womp womp.
Yeah, so, right.
I have a good segue before we get to Candyman, which I know everybody is waiting for.
Don't say it 5 times.
I won't. I'm looking at my reflection in my TV right now.
Yeah, I don't have any mirrors around me, but I'm still not saying it 5 times.
I did Bloody Mary once.
I did Bloody Mary too as a kid, all the time. Yeah. Nothing ever happened. But you know what? Don't say
you're not gonna play with it, okay?
Mm-mm.
I get it. So the good segue is we're gonna jump to a trailer for a movie that comes out in like 1 or 2 weeks. I think it's September 1st or 3rd. A movie called Bad Candy, which you said you didn't see the trailer for.
I have not.
It's like an anthology, kind of like Trick or Treat, in a way. And I think it actually looks really fun. We'll see, how it is. I have a screener for it. I haven't watched it yet. But I think it looks very, everybody's going to want to watch it around Halloween. So we'll see.
Cool.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Welcome back, kids, to the Psychotronic FM Halloween show. This is Chili Billy. It's station 66.6. Ghouls, werewolves, vampires, ghosties with the mosties.
You guys ready for tonight?
It's Halloween, or as we like to call it, Hell Hallows Eve. We continue down this dark and dusty road on the night when the space between the living and the dead is at its thinnest.
You're, kind of old to be trick-or-treating.
I want you to call in with your scariest ideas, your deepest fears, your spookiest nightmares, so I can twist the knife into your stories. Can you dig it?
Oh, watch it.
Can you make it up to? Got the really good candy.
Hey, Bill, we got a caller on the line that wants to know what your biggest fear is.
My biggest fear?
Mm-hmm.
The dark.
This is going to be awesome.
Happy Halloween! You gon' die, bitch. Bye!
That last line makes me laugh.
That's fun. It looks fun.
Yeah.
Anthologies for me like can be so hit or miss.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping there's more hits than misses in this, but I do like that Zach Galligan's in it, and I think it's funny that Corey Taylor plays the DJ. So
Who is Corey Taylor? I don't know.
he's the lead singer for Slipknot.
Oh,
and,
right.
He's also in the In Search of Darkness documentaries with me. So.
Oh, right. He is. Okay, you're right.
Yes, with
No, I
me.
know.
He had the privilege of being
I
in the
know.
documentaries with me, of course.
I know. I got very excited when I saw you in them after I finally knew who you were.
I still haven't even watched part 2, so I'm
long,
able to
but
bring
it's-
myself. Yeah, well, they're both long, so.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so he's the lead singer of Slipknot, and he's a huge horror nerd, and I know he's been working on a project for a while with Tom Savini, so that'd be cool if that actually
cool.
got to get rolling. So yeah, I'm in. It's
Right.
Halloween themed. I mean, it's like the new Chucky show, which is set at Halloween too. I'm like, you're set at Halloween. I'm
Right.
there. I'm an easy sell. I'm an easy lay basically for anything Halloween.
For anything Halloween.
Themed.
You in a year, folks.
Yes, I'm already there, so you don't even have to work very hard for it.
Or a PG-13 show. Okay, so I guess we can go on to Candyman.
Candyman.
Can't we do that?
I think that's the adult version.
Mhm.
Candyman.
Candyman.
No, don't you? You just said it like 4 times.
No, but
Yeah.
I said I didn't say it correctly.
Okay, I don't know. Does he care? I don't know if he cares.
Well, when we get into discussion, I have a comment about that. But let's look at this little 30-second thing that Universe was sent out while your dogs bark. Hold on.
I was out here looking for Candyman.
What's Candyman?
Candyman is very scary.
Terrifying. Haunting. Creepy.
Candyman is fear, oppression, retribution,
Dramatic.
Racism in America.
Candyman is storytelling.
provocative,
Macabre.
Influential.
Smart.
Powerful.
very ambitious,
Candyman is brilliant.
Topical.
Grounding.
Daring.
Fresh. Horrifying.
Candyman is the patron saint of the urban legend.
Which, thank God, they are playing that song because I made a joke about it last night when I went to the movies. I posted that I was there, and I said, "Say his name, say his name." And I was like, "I hope Destiny's Child shows up." And now they're literally playing the song in their advertisements.
Well, that was in the first trailer.
Was it? I don't even think I
Yeah, but
realized
that was like a year and a half ago. So I
Right.
remember I went to the trailer. They did like a trailer debut for press with Nia and with Jordan there at Universal. This was like February 2020, I want to say. So it was before everything kind of went sideways. And yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure that was in the first trailer too.
Interesting. I don't totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I will say, and I brought this up a little bit to you earlier before we started talking, that I hadn't seen the original Candyman. I mean, I might have seen it randomly in the late 90s, but I remember seeing it at the theater opening night. I remember liking it, but not thinking it was like the best thing in the world. So I was glad that I revisited it. And the reason why is that because some of the problems I have with the new one, but I did really like the new one. I liked it probably in some ways better than the original. Here's what the original bothered me is that I thought that socio-political stuff, all the stuff about racism and the Cabrini Green and them taking over and gentrification, all that stuff going on, that was all really interesting. And I also liked the talk about mythology and how we create these myths. And I don't think they really drive that home. Like they don't do a lot of scares for a good part of the movie because it's just all about this mystery and her getting information, which I really, really liked. My problem was when they get into the mythology of the Candyman, it's not consistent. So somebody might say it 5 times in the mirror, nothing happens. He kind of is in the shadows, but isn't killing anybody. Another time somebody will say it, he'll kill that person. Another time somebody will say it, they kill another person. What is it? What's the rule? And I could never figure it out. And then another point, the Tony Todd Candyman is like napping at one point, and she like tiptoes around him like he's supernatural. Why is he sleeping? And then she ends up, spoiler if you haven't seen the first one, the way she offs him is very like he's human. So I didn't like the Candyman part of it. I like the rest of it.
Interesting. You, as somebody who has watched the original Candyman like a lot, I can tell there's parts that you probably don't remember as well, because anybody who said his name 5 times in the first movie, there was a reckoning. Like there was, and basically in the original Candyman, what it really was about was that basically Virginia Madsen's character Helen, she summons him. Nobody else in that movie, other than in the beginning with Ted Raimi and the girlfriend that's like in sort of the prologue, nobody else in that movie actually says it 5 times. In fact, the only time we ever see a character's name said 5 times is at the end when Helen's husband basically ends up summoning her at the end, and she destroys him. So really the only person who actually ever says it, because even blanking on, she directed, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
God,
why Bayou?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kiersey Clemens, right?
Nope. Casey. Oh, maybe it's Casey Clemens. I'm gonna look it up.
I'm looking. I'm pretty sure it's Kiersey Clemens. Yeah, Casey Lemons. That's what it is. Sorry, holy moly. Anyway, but even in the time when her and Helen are sitting in the bathroom, she only says it 4 times. So really, it's all it's all basically because Tony Todd's Candyman is coming after Helen.
I thought they did say it 5 times in that.
Nope.
Mirror.
She stops. Helen still says it. And then they have like a little play fight over it. And she was like, I can't believe you did that. And then here comes Candyman, and he's after Helen. Because
nobody else says it? No other characters say it?
No.
Except for the people at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's the prologue.
But then don't they both get killed?
In the beginning?
Yeah.
Well, no, the girl ends up being the one that says it 5 times.
Right. And she
Ted
gets
Raimi
killed.
goes crazy, and he ends up getting sent to an institution.
Right.
Because
so the
they
girl
suspect
gets
that he killed her.
Right. So she said it, she summoned him, he kills her. So if Virginia Madsen said it, and he summons her, and he wants her, why didn't he just kill her? That was his whole point.
Because it was all part of the dance.
Yeah.
It's part of the seduction. Like that. I mean, and that's really the thing, because like they're always like they were taking elements from Clive Barker's original novel and trying to make them work within the confines of modern issues in the West Side of Chicago. And there's parts of it that work, parts of it that definitely don't work. I mean, if you look at the context of Virginia Madsen's character back then versus what we respond to things now, I mean, all of this happens because one white woman goes into a neighborhood that she has no business sticking her nose into and stirs up all this trouble. And a lot of people pay, a lot of like sort of bear the brunt of her stupidity. And ultimately, ends up becoming sort of a white savior at the end of the movie, saving this community from Candyman.
Which is interesting because they flipped that around in the sequel for a little bit, which I really thought was interesting and made me mad. I'm like, no, she's not like, she's not.
But I mean, in a lot of ways, though, she is a villain. Like she is, because she had no business, like all in the name of academia. She had even no really good reason to go in there and cause this community the trouble that she does. Like, and that to me is like, that's part where like Bernard Rose was dipping his toes into it. And I think for me, like the new Candyman, and I'm trying to be vague because it recontextualizes what we know about the Candyman mythology in general. But, the thing is like, it's Candyman now isn't really this thing. He's a reclamation of systemic abuse. Like, they recontextualize what Candyman is. I don't think it's any secret if you look at the visual representation of Candyman in the trailers. it's not Tony Todd. And that plays into it. And that's all I can really say about that, because it sort of opens things up, which I appreciated. And for me, because I grew up, you know, in the suburbs of Chicago. But I used to, every day I would take the Green Line into work when I worked downtown, and the Green Line goes right through the Cabrini Green neighborhood area. So I would see basically for 7 years, the gentrification of Cabrini Green happening, where they were tearing down these big, huge buildings, putting up these little townhouses in hopes of getting people to come from the suburbs to move into these areas. And the reality is like, it really, gentrification itself is violence against, you know, communities of color, regardless. And right. I also, back in the early 2000s, I worked with a public relations company that we specialized in nonprofit groups around the area. And some of them were groups that worked with like violence on the South Side, arts organizations on the West Side. We worked with the Alternative Schools Network, which were like at-risk teens, trying to get them, you know, motivated to go back to school, finish, you know, their educations and join the workforce and things like that. And one of the people that we actually worked with was an author who did a book about the gentrification of the West Side. And so it's interesting to me that they took something that is a real thing that very much happened. And it was crazy to see, because I haven't taken the Green Line into the city since 2004, I want to say. So to see how different everything was, like, because I remember specifically, if you go watch the original Candyman, there's a church that has sort of the iron cross at the top that turned green over time, because that's like what happens when it ages. And like that church is now that little white church that's like totally changed. And I was like, wow, it was just weird, because like, even when I go back home, usually I'm just kind of in the suburbs running back and forth to see people. I don't get to go and just do fun things on my own and go drive around. So it was interesting to see it presented through this different lens. And I do think those things work. I think for me, the original Candyman was horrifying and scary. Like, it unnerved me. I mean, we joked about the fact that we've never said Candyman in a mirror, but we've said Bloody Mary. And I think there's something to that, because to me, like, that first Candyman, especially if you watch, I don't know if it's necessarily a director's cut or what it is, the Scream Factory Blu-ray, but like, oh yeah, there's a director's cut on that. It's a little bit more visceral, and there's a little more blood, and it's a little more graphic. And to me, there's a raw edge to that kind of violence, in being confronted with that kind of violence, where this one, I didn't feel that. Like, I liked the socio-political stuff. I liked the characters. I liked the story and where it went, because it really made sense. And it also reframes the first movie. But also, I was missing that holy shit, this is really happening moment. I just never felt that here.
It's interesting, because no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, but I loved it. Like, I thought it was great. We're trying to figure out how to go see it again, because we want to go see it at the drive-in, but I can't see Escape Room a fourth time in like 2 months. Like, I've already seen Escape Room three times, because like I just seen it twice for like through the studio, and then we went and saw it at the drive-in once with Snake Eyes, and then they brought Escape Room back to play with Candyman, and I was like, oh gosh, fourth time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun, but I don't know if it's 4 times in like 3 months fun. But yeah, like, I want to see it again. I really, really thought it did a lot of interesting things that I wasn't expecting. It's not the movie that I think most of us are expecting. Because I think most of us are looking for something, or we're looking for something more in line with what we got in the original. But I think she takes certain aspects of it. Like, for me, like, I've always wondered, like, well, why would Candyman go after, you know, persons of color in the first one? And like, why wasn't he more mad at the communities that like betrayed him and things like that? And I think the way that they sort of reframe things here, it all sort of makes a little more sense, and what Candyman ends up ultimately representing is a little more thought out here, in ways that I think Bernard Rose never was going to be capable of doing. But ultimately, it's like Clive Barker's story itself is just like, you know, basically about workers, you know, working in like steel mills or something like that. So, you know, it's all a really big stretch from the source material, but I think the way that they've done it here is pretty smart.
Yeah, I thought it was, I actually liked the horror elements in this one more so. I felt like again, in the original Candyman, for some reason, because I had, been through, I was, a teenager when Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, I felt like a ripoff. Like they were trying, let's do another iconic slasher monster guy. So I felt like all the Tony Todd stuff felt shoehorned into something more interesting, which is that's how it was coming across to me. But I mean, I still liked it. I totally forgot Philip Glass had done the score. But anyway, so in the new one, I liked how they made it more supernatural. But I liked how they used the mirrors and the reflections. I liked how people would like be raised up in the air and you're like, oh shit, something bad's happening, but you couldn't always see what was happening. That the apartment building scene, which I won't say what it is, I loved how they shot that. That was amazing when they were pulling out of the thing. I thought it was so good. So that's about it. And I did like that they didn't always show the violence, like the violence of the girls in the high school. I thought that was way more effective just hearing the noises and seeing like the waterfall of blood go down and, the girls looking underneath the stall seeing it. I thought those things were really cool. So I enjoyed that. I got a little, and we can't talk about it, but I was confused as to what you find out at the end.
I think the credits fill in a lot of the blanks. Did you watch the full credits?
I did. And that I got. It was that if there was, I can't say it. I will talk about it after. I actually can't because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
But there was one thing like at the end, it was like, well, why would that person do that? But that said, I did really like, and I have some pictures here and stuff too. I really liked all the actors. I thought were good. I loved the way she directed it. I thought that it was really kind of slick, but also had a little bit of grittiness to it here and there. I liked them using the art world. I thought that was an interesting take on it. There's the little bees. There were so many elements that I liked. I didn't find it particularly scary, but I thought it was like unnerving, we'll say.
Yeah, I think for me, like, because the first one feels so unforgiving in a lot of ways. Like it is just like Helen is just getting it from all ends of that.
She
movie.
is.
Like
that poor girl.
God bless Virginia Madsen. I mean, admittedly, she kind of deserves it, but fate is fate. But like, I didn't mind that they held back because, frankly, seeing violence perpetrated against, persons of color, like, I think after them, I'm okay if I don't have a movie that focuses solely on that. I'm good with that. But it was different. So it's like, it works really well together, and it's a really great modernization of it. I'm really curious to see, people who are so obsessed with Candyman, because I mean, if you think about it, like, for generations of kids growing, Black kids growing up, like who grew up watching Freddy and Jason, like Candyman to them is their Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And that's why Tony Todd is like, always a fan favorite. Like every time he comes to Flashback Weekend in Chicago, like he is swarmed all weekend. Like he's like, he is like a god there because everybody loves Tony, and there's just something about that presence. And for me, like it was interesting because the last time that he was there, they actually had Virginia Madsen there also, and they were just getting ready to go into production on the new Candyman. So everybody was like, "Are you guys in it? What's going on?" Blah blah blah. So it was interesting, but I think for a lot of kids, like that to them, that is their boogeyman. I mean, for me, I was very young when Nightmare on Elm Street and all those movies were coming up. So I had the privilege of like cutting my teeth on Freddy and Jason and Michael. And then Candyman came along when I was in high school. So it was like this whole different thing to me. But I mean, I remember seeing it the first time. And when I remember I was dating this kid and I was like, we're not making out during this movie because I want to watch it because it was horror. But I remember like leaving the theater going like, oh, holy crap. I am never saying that name in a mirror, like ever. And I was a kid who like Bloody Mary, no big deal. Ouija boards, no big deal. We do not say that name in a mirror whatsoever. We're not joking about it. We're not doing it. You just don't do it. And I think to me, that's like the power of what that character has become. I mean, so much so that people are even willing to like forgive the sequels, which 2 is okay, but 3 is.
I didn't even see. I don't think I saw
three is
any of
pretty
them.
terrible.
I might have seen the second one.
Yeah, I mean, like Tony's good in them, but that's the best compliment I can give them is at least Tony shows up
Yeah.
in both of those movies. But yeah, I think just, for a lot of kids, I mean, maybe because you're a little bit older, it sort of hit you a little differently. But I think for me, being at that ripe age of like where this came out, I was 14, like it felt dangerous. It felt real because it's 20 minutes from my house. It wasn't like Haddonfield, Illinois, that doesn't exist. Like this is a real place where people really live and they really have to deal with all of this kind of violence, that's perpetrated in their communities every day by outside forces, So to me, like that's always what's made it really scary. But yeah, I watch Candyman a lot, and that Philip Glass score, Jesus Christ.
I couldn't get it out of my head. After I turned it off, I was like, oh my God, it's going to drive me crazy.
There's some times where like I'll be working late at night and I'll just leave the menu from the Scream Factory Blu-ray on because it's just like, one, I just want to scare the crap out of myself at 4 a.m. while I'm writing up by myself in the dark. But it just like, there's just something about it that just moves me. Like it's so haunting and it makes me sad at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, it is, I would say easily one of the best scores out of horror in the 1990s, bar none. And if it's not the best, it's definitely top 3. So
I mean, it's Philip Glass. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. And he got tricked into doing that score, right?
Did he?
He did. He had no idea that Candyman was a horror movie. He got approached to do it. Bernard just sort of told him he was doing this social movie. And because Philip Glass would never do a horror movie. That's like wasn't his thing. And so he ended up kind of getting tricked into doing Candyman.
Yeah. I did wonder why he was doing it. I was like, this is odd.
Yeah. And then also, I don't know if you knew this, but in the original movie, Virginia Madsen was often hypnotized during the scenes when she was interacting with Candyman.
Really?
Yeah. Bernard Rose would actually hypnotize her where she had no idea what she was doing in those moments.
Weird.
Yeah.
I will say, and I pulled a picture of this because the one thing that drove me crazy, the constant smoking by everybody.
Well, that's like 90s cinema.
I know. It was driving me crazy though.
Oh, we were
like, stop smoking. It's making me sick.
We were watching something the other day. I forget what it was. And I swear to God, it was like every scene somebody was smoking. I mean, Ghostbusters, literally everybody is smoking in every scene of Ghostbusters. Like there's ghosts smoking in Ghostbusters.
I mean, it's bizarre because when you look back, you're like, yeah, like we didn't think anything of it, but every scene. And I was like, they would just dress up. I'm like, your clothes are going to smell. I just couldn't take it.
That's all you can do when you're an academic. Like you smoke and you do research. That's it.
True.
That's the life. So,
and you can smoke anywhere.
Yeah, I know. I think Nia did a really fantastic job with taking on a very impossible task. I think a lot of this takes the Halloween 2018 idea, of sort of repurposing things that makes them stronger. I really hope it hits. But I get it's just one of these things where I've seen a lot of people saying like, "Oh my God, Tony Todd," blah, blah. I'm like, just go in with an open mind. Like, just don't be expecting more of the same. And I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And plus the fact that it does seem to expand the mythology enough for sequels that'll be even more interesting.
Yeah.
Because of what happens towards the end or the more information that we get. And I thought I already know what the title's going to be, but I won't say it. I mean, you can guess too what the title could probably be, but if we say it, it'll give stuff away. But I don't know. I did dig it. I was pleasantly surprised because I was worried that it's being overhyped, and I was like, people are just going to be disappointed because the studio's still involved. So even if you get Jordan Peele and stuff, I remember Nia DaCosta said, she did have to do things that she might not have normally wanted to do. So I was like, this might not turn out well, but I thought it was pretty stylish and cool and atmospheric, and I don't know, I was into it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. So so I give it a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're at 44 minutes. I was gonna say we can show one more trailer for that movie that we'll probably review in the next couple of weeks, I guess.
Oh, sure.
We need to do something. Have you seen that
Yes.
trailer yet? Yeah.
I've seen the movie, so
Oh, have
yes,
you?
it was Tribeca. I want to say. I think it was a
Oh.
Tribeca selection.
They say that the girl in it is from Vast
The
of
Vast of
Night.
Night.
Is it the lead girl?
Yeah,
She does not look the same at all.
I know.
Because I was
It's
staring at her
amazing
like,
what some
that's not-
glasses will do. That's why Clark Kent got away with it for so long.
Glasses and the hair. She had that
Yeah.
nasty hair. Okay. Well, we'll try. It looks interesting. I think I'm going to watch it after we get done here. So we can talk about it whenever the embargo's up. All right. Hold on.
There's not going to be a tornado. It's just a thunderstorm. Everything's going to be okay. Why weren't you answering my calls?
Look, I'm sorry. I think it's an EF5.
What the hell's an EF5?
It's like when two tornadoes come together and they form one giant tornado. Mom, I think something might be wrong.
Won't open! A tree is blocking the door!
Can't we just break the door down?
That thing is made of solid oak. I can't just punch through it.
Doesn't make any sense.
What doesn't make any sense?
We have neighbors. Someone would have come. They're all dead.
Why would you say that?
What if it wasn't just a storm?
Let me out of here! I need help!
What did you see out there?
Not a tornado. Something else.
I was scared.
Scared of what?
Of you?
We did something bad.
Well, you've seen it, so
It is stressful.
is it?
Yes.
That's
it
good
is.
because that's what I'm looking for. So
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah. So we could definitely talk about that in the future. So, but
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's again a movie. I don't think you're gonna know exactly where it's going. So, which
And
is
I'm kind
fun.
of
I
glad.
just,
Yeah, I'm glad that
you
I
know,
don't.
yeah.
I'm excited
So,
now.
Yeah. Well, there you
Things to
go.
do. After I
All
watch
right.
Big Brother, of course.
Priorities.
Summer guilty pleasure. It starts in 5 minutes.
We better
That's-
wrap up then, guys.
That's secretly why I was like, let's do this earlier tonight.
Oh, okay. So,
No, that's not true.
okay, it's fine. No, it's fine. We just
I
work
pay
on
for
Kevin's
Paramount.
schedule now. That's fine. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this
Mm-hmm.
week. So we'll be back next week with more horrifically horrifying horror for you guys. But we appreciate you
Woohoo.
tuning in, and we will see you next week.
all right.
Bye.
Oh, and maybe we should mention our Hollywood Critics Association TV Awards air on Sunday night at 5:00 on this channel. So check us out. I know I'm giving an award. Heather might show up and just watch us all be in spirit. And then, but yeah, check us out if you're interested in following the Hollywood Critics Association stuff.
Gotcha. All right.
All right.